Okay, I'm gonna try to explain the nice guys finish last. Um, Generally, attractive people tend to being very geeky and nerdy, and whereas the light-headed ones being more attractive. I'm gonna try to explain this with the impact theory of mine, which is there in some of the previous videos. So, impact theory, what it basically is uh, so the whole purpose of life and existence is to make an impact, right? So that's the ultimate objective. So for us at the everyday level, we derive pleasure out of um, things which are actually impactful, things by which we make an impact on others and other physical things, as well as other people or other stuff or whatever, right? um, Say for example, people have pets, right? We all love our pets, we like to play with them, and the reason for that is we make them jump around, move around, do cute little gestures and all, and we feed them, we bring them up and all that. So we control it, we make an impact on the pets. So being with pets gives us pleasure. The same thing is applicable if you're driving a car or something. So when you're driving a cool expensive car, you're just moving around this huge piece of metal, this heavy piece of metal. You're moving this around at a bigger, at a greater speed, and so that's why it feels cool, and that's why it gives you pleasure. You're making a real physical impact by moving around this piece of thing that some of the other low IQ or some of the most primitive life forms or other things won't be able to do, right? So so this is what it is. And I think this attraction thing can also be explained a little bit by using this terminology of trying to make an impact, right? So let's just imagine dancing, right? uh, so nice guys are like people who do not make any moves. It's like nice guys are someone who just restrains themselves, curves themselves. They're not really forthcoming, they're not really aggressive or whatever. So what they are just people who are shy about dancing. And so what they end up expecting is they end up expecting the partner to make all the move while they just stand around. So this is not really fun for the partner, right? Because in this interaction, this shy person expects the partners to make a move for him. So he's making the partner move around, so he's making impact on the partner, but the partner doesn't get anything in return because the partner hasn't really made an impact, and this guy is not really moving around or anything, right? So so that's the first kind of nice guy, who's just there, who doesn't really make enough the right doesn't really make any moves. He's just very sober, serious, and all that. Okay, so that's the first kind of interaction. The second kind of interaction is the patronizing person, the patronizing nice guy again. Okay, so the patronizing nice guy simply just agrees with you, says yes to you, and all that. I mean, I keep using the word nice guy, but it applies for women, the girls as well. But that takes a little bit more. That's actually a little bit more complicated, but I think this also applies to women as well, right? So the second type of conservative person is the patronizing conservative person. So again, this is like this second type of dancer. This second type of dancer is the person who simply just follows the partner. He doesn't really make any move on his own, but whatever move the partner makes, he just goes in the same direction, and he's not really applying his mind or making any moves on his own, right? He's simply just um, imitating the partner. And so again, I mean, although it feels like to the partner it feels like this person is moving the way they are, but on a higher level, this guy is not really applying any thought for so that way the partner is not making this guy make a thinking move. So intellectually the partner is not making an impact. This guy is just intellectually lazy or whatever, right? um, so, and so that again is an annoying thing that again doesn't really turn on the partner or give pleasure to the partner. and and so that's number two, right? And then on the other extreme you have the other person who just makes weird moves, like a lousy Jim Carrey move or whatever on a dance floor, right? So even this weird moves, right, this again is not really a turn on to the partner, because all this weirdness, this weird moves is all a result of his own move. um, those are not what the moves that your partner hopes that you would be making. Your partner pictures, and your partner hopes that you're making a very playful or a sexy or an attractive move, right? They're not expecting you to make a weird move in their head, and that's so they are hoping that you make a sexy move, right? So if you do something else, that's not what you want. That's not, and so that's why it doesn't feel like they are in control of the moves that you're making, right? So if you don't make the move that your partner imagines in his or her head, again you're the weird kind of guy. I think most people fall under this category. They do approach and do this and that, but it's not really the right thing they do. For example, you're talking about irrelevant nerdy stuff, or you're just maintaining a very sad tone of voice, or you're not really being playful and witty in a sexy way, or in a very engaging way. If you're not doing that, you're not making the right moves, right? So you have to be uh, you have to be it has to be a very responsive move, um, right? So for that you need to sort of look into their eye, connect with them, and then try to imagine moves that would be more fun to them as well as you, right? So that's the thing. So being an attractive person is about making moves, which in the partner's head thinks that that move is made. It sort of gives the impression for the partner that they are making an impact, and they're in control of what is going on, right? So that is what an attractive personality is, or that's the kind of people that are pleasurable to be with, right? So um, so this is where this is what I think is one of the underlying principles of why a lot of nice guys finish last, and why a lot of intelligent people who curb themselves, who are mature enough, who avoid confrontation, who are not aggressive enough. I think this is what's missing. So I think that intelligence can be a very sexy thing, right? Only if you apply it in the right way. If you more use intelligence to be very nice, uh, uh, this thing happens. You just mature and you're not making the right moves. So just think about this making an impact part a little bit, and then see. I try to understand that this is what people are looking for, to make an impact, right? So this is what happens in these scenarios as well. When people say that you are friend zoned, what happens is you are not making the right kind of the sexy or the playful moves. So your partner decides that nevertheless they decide to make an impact on you by making you do other utilitarian things, not sexy things, but they might use you to make other kinds of things. So every interaction is all about making an impact, right? It's not just only for the dating and the attraction thing, but every single interaction, social interaction or anything. Even when kids play with toys, right? um, they are trying to make an impact. They just derive pleasure out of moving the toys back and forth, breaking it, destroying it, making noises or whatever, right? So it's all about making an impact, right? So this and so this is why people get friend zoned if you're not doing the right thing. People are still going to try to use you in whatever way you can, in whatever way they can, to sort of make an impact. um, and Yeah, so that's the thing, man. So that's one of the explanation on why this thing happens. Despite being intelligent and all, nice guys are finishing last and all, right? So just imagine what is pleasurable for your partner. That's it. Your partner wants to make an impact. Your partner wants to see a person make a sexy move or sexy gesture towards him or her. That's what's required, right? Now, so what do we? Okay, again, now I guess this is for people in Chennai, in India. That's where I'm from. So part is about, so where do we stand at the moment, and so with this in mind, how do we go about carrying ourselves out in the real life, right? So obviously South Indians, we are intelligent, we are, but a bit more mature. So we are not really that playful or anything like the North Indians. The North Indians, right? I think they are the North Indians and Pakistanis in general. I'm saying they are the most attractive people on earth, because for thousands of years we've had this, very, very. I mean, people say that as people get more civilized, they also get more neotenous. Neotenous meaning very youthful, young, and all that, right? So that is there, but because of living well and being very quite playful, and because the culture is full of singing, dancing, and very playful things, I think that also has got their culture has got a lot to do with the cuteness in their face, right? They also have the benefit of having physical neotenous features like flatter faces and fair skin and bigger eyes and etc., and all that, better skin and all that. But apart from that, they also have this cute face because of their playfulness, a playful culture over a period of thousands of years, right? But we South Indians for thousands of years, I mean, I'm not saying we haven't lived well. We have also lived well, but we've been more mature, and that's why we don't have that very playful or a very cuter face, right? So now to the question of how we should carry ourselves out. Now, okay, there's actually another component to it, component to attraction, right? So okay, to be attractive, right, people say that you have to be confident about yourselves. Confident about yourselves means it is really a relative thing, right? You should feel that you are better than the others, right? So you should feel like you're better than the others, you are classier than the others. And so what happens is, to sort of reassure to yourself that you're classier than the others, you have to believe that the others are below you. And if you think that the others are below you, you kind of somehow has to establish through your body language or your demeanor that the others are below you. So what you do is you don't really respond well to someone who you think is below you, because the minute you connect with someone, it means you are making you're on the same level or something. That happens all the time. It's inevitable, right? So people do maintain a demeanor, an attitude is what some I mean it's another way of calling it, but yeah, so all these things happens. But so yeah, if you have this demeanor and attitude and everything, what happens is, so you become less responsive to someone, and so you in some way you don't want the others to make an impact on you, right? So this is kind of in contrast with having to be playful, right? So for attraction you need to be playful, as well as, because of this confidence thing, you need to be classy. And so these two things are a little bit contradictory, and a lot of people in trying to be classy, they just come across as very mature, and they're not very playful, right? They're not very lightheaded, and that somehow comes into play. So the question is how to balance these things, right? So who can we have, what what are the kind of people that we can look to imitate to be both playful as well as have an attitude and confidence about yourself. Okay, to have this confidence, you first have to believe that you are indeed a superior specimen, right? Yeah, I'm going to use the word superior and all. You just have to bear with it. So I've actually established why South Indians have had a very good history and lived very well. If you see some of the other videos, and I've also established that we are, quite brainy and sensual and all that as well. So which are all good for being an engaging person, and overall we're just living in this kind of backward society, but we have the potential to be very hot, very superior specimen if we just get the right knowledge and everything, right? So like we also have a alright kind of skin and sensuality, and also so we have the potential to be superior specimen as well. So have this thing in your head all the time. Just stay confident about your Indianness, right? Or your South Indianness maybe. And so have this confidence all the line, but again, don't be too cocky or arrogant so that you end up looking like a stuck up asshole, right? But also try to be playful. So I don't know who combines these things best. What I find is a lot of people are, think that, aping the Western culture and acting more Western is what is attractive. See, the thing is this, being okay. So the other thing is, okay, you get turned off by people who are pretty naive. Let's say a person from a village, and maybe he or she has better skin, better physique, or whatever. But you find a person who is not physically as good as this person, but who's actually traveled to so many different places, who's grown up in different places, has a new, a different, exciting demeanor or culture, or he's got a lot of interesting things in his head, a lot of interesting ideas and all. So you find that person also appealing, right? So the reason for that is this. This again has to do with the impact, right? See, a person from a village who is not very rich or poor, he or she that person is not going to be a very impactful person on the society, right? But whereas the leader of an industry, or a very powerful person, or a very classy person, like creators of culture, or the most the coolest people or whatever, right? So they have they make a lot more impact on things around. So if you make an impact on those impactful people, your impact is multiplied, right? So that's why we also like being with those sort of people who are aligned with interesting things. And for now we think that the Western people who talk in English and who act like they're from the West are a bit more interesting. But we now, I mean, that's the generally that's perception is there, but like I said, it's got a downside to it. Say for example, the Anglo Indians, right? So Anglo Indians are like half Indian and half Anglo, and the Anglos have been the ruling class for a lot of years, so they get their aggressiveness and confidence from that part. But if you look at, if they have a unique look about them, but I've actually known a lot of people, a lot of Anglo Indians, so if you get to know them, you would understand that they're not really that intelligent, right? Well, a lot of Anglo Indians, there's been a flight of Anglo Indians away from India to countries like Australia and UK and all. They just prefer to be janitors and waiters over there rather than the elite here, but that's their choice, so that's happening. And And yeah, so the thing about Anglo Indians is they have a sense of confidence about themselves, but they are not very uh, it's not they're not very engaging, right? um, the other kinds of people are Indians themselves, who try to act like this Arjun Rampal, or people who try to act like Nandana Sen. They talk and act like they are from a different breed altogether, and they're again they're more westernized. They're just coconuts. All those Arundhati Roy, and I just can't remember some of the other people who are like that. But generally, you guys know what I'm talking about, right? They think they are the cool guys who hang around in bars and pubs, and uh, go to rock concerts or whatever, right? So those kind of guys, right? So there's a huge number of these people out there in India right now. But another observation that I've made, right, a lot of people I see like this. I've actually known a lot of people from the previous generation as well who's like this. They talk in English all the time, and they are very westernized. But what's happened is their sons and daughters, right? Um, they've being very westernized. It doesn't really give you that playfulness, that natural playfulness, right? So their sons and daughters consequently don't really have a cuter face or anything. They just have this dull face, and because and in case their sons and daughters don't speak English that well or act that poshly, they just come across as really just dull people that no one wants to be with. So what I'm trying to say is, just trying to be like this, trying to well, I am actually being like that right now, I understand that, but I'm trying to improve on it. That's why all these introspection and all that, right? Anyway, so being this way again loses your playfulness. The thing is, Indianness is the best. I mean, not even Indianness, North Indianness is the best way to be. They're very playful. At the same time, they can they can um, you can have a very you can have a proper attitude as well, even without knowing a single word in English. So people in North India can have a good attitude, and I mean good attitude in the sense, not a good attitude in the good attitude uh, way, but a sense of superiority about them just by the way they look. Um, so say for example, someone like a Kiran, or the actress Kiran, or the old one I know, but her, or someone like a Ragini, Vivedi, or people like that, right? They're not necessarily very westernized. They're very Indianized. They act in a very Indian way, but still they will come across as very playful and attractive. At the same time, they come across as um, you know they just by looking at them, you would feel that you are below them and they are above you in some way, right? So this is what these kind of people is what you should be having role models as, not the stupid um, uh, people like John Abraham, or like I said, all those very elite, very Western oriented people. You should not be looking up to them as your idols. Being the natural Indian way is the best way to be. Only thing is you have to be a bit more playful, right? And well, most North Indians kind of, again, even they look up to someone who talks in English well, um, but you don't have to, just be very just happy about your natural Indian way, and you just believe that you're superior to the other people in the world, and act in a very natural Indian way. So that's the best way to be, right? I am working on it as well, but you can't just change this like this, because every person you deal with, you've been dealing with this kind of demeanor, and it's not easy to change, right? But just if you were to have a role model who you want to mimic. It has to be those people that I told, who are very playful, yet at the same time they look like they are all about fun, and they look like they are having a nice lifestyle, and who are confident about who they are. Again, just uh, I don't know. Only this person comes to mind right now. Kiran Rathod. She's one of the things. But yeah, um, yeah. So that is what I want to say.